Hey guys, it's Pearson, and this is going to be my mid Galio guide. The thing that's unique about Galio is that he's a tank in the mid lane, which he's kind of the only champion that you can play in the mid lane that's a really viable tank. So it allows your jungler, your top laner to pick more bruiser or carry type champions, and you can bring the tankiness and the roam ability from mid lane, which is pretty unique. For runes on Galio, I like to do a pretty standard AP mid page, but just with flat magic resist blues. So I'll do magic pen reds, HP per level yellows, flat magic resist blues, and AP quints. For masteries, I do 12, 0, 18. The 12 in ferocity or in the offense tree is mostly for getting enough damage so you can wave clear. For resolve or the tank tree, it's pretty simple. You just pick whatever makes you the most tanky, and Courage of the Colossus, because Galio has a lot of CC, so he has a lot of ways to proc Courage of the Colossus. For the overall skill order, always max Q into W into E. Take ult whenever you can. Q is just the best for, it's pretty much your only real damage ability other than your passive. It's good for wave clearing, poking. It's what makes Galio kind of like a pseudo ranged champion, even though he's melee. And maxing W second is simply just increased damage reduction and less cooldown on the top. For Galio's early lane, that's probably the only time where you're actually really vulnerable and can die to ganks, because you're not much tankier than really any other champion before you get items. So recommend playing pretty safe and mostly just farming with Q until you get higher level, and try not to take too much damage, but you also want to make sure you get as much CS as possible, because you're always going to be running teleport on Galio. So even though you might be losing the early game, you might be losing a lot of HP, you can always recall and come back with better items, and that's going to help your lane. So just maximizing farm while staying safe is the most important. Early game itemization on Galio, I almost always start Doran's Ring, and then I try to get a Dark Seal or another Doran's Ring on my first back, because you need 2 of those early game AP items to be able to wave clear. And I think with the Galio Q nerf, you need a couple stacks on your Dark Seal, so I usually get Doran's Ring and a Dark Seal, try to get a kill or an assist, and that's going to give me enough AP to wave clear. After I get my first tanky item, depending on who I'm laning against, I'll usually build the opposite resistance. So if I bought a magic resist item, I'll buy an armor item, and then following that, the armor item will usually give health, like a Randuin's or a Thornmail, and then you can build Stone Plate, which is kind of like an overall good tanky item. And then after that, it really comes down to what you feel like you need. If you reduce crit chance damage or a crit damage, you can buy Randuin's. If they have a lot of burst, you can buy Locket to help your team. After that, it really just comes down to kind of what you prefer and what you feel like is best in the current game. It just takes a lot of testing. After the laning phase is over, as Galio, it just comes down to using your ulti really well and helping your teammates engage fights or saving them from dying on the side lane. I try to stay in the mid lane as much as possible, because it gives you the option to help your teammates both in top and bot lane. You only have to move a little bit to be in your ulti's range, but it's very different than playing any other mid champion, because you are a tank. You're not really looking to find someone on the side lane and solo kill him. You're mostly playing on your team, farming up to get stronger, and then grouping with your team and helping them fight and helping your carries do damage and carry the game. Playing late game as Galio is pretty similar. I think when you are playing a tank, it's easy to feel kind of helpless, but I think when you're playing something like Galio, you want to really take charge and tell your teammates what to do and kind of shock all a little bit in the game, or tell people like, all right, let's group, let's go for Dragon or go for Baron, because you're only really useful if you're with your team and you're assisting your team. So playing Galio, maybe telling someone to split push and you look at them, and when they fight someone 1v1, you're ready to ulti, or helping your team group for Baron, or helping them with Alistar you can engage and I can follow up. It's hard to make Galio feel, I guess, effective if you don't have good teammates, because he is a very team-based champion, especially as the game goes on. I think the most basic combo is obviously using E onto someone, then finding out whether you want to use your passive early on in the combo, or whether you want to maximize your taunt, or whether you need to get the Q damage right away, depending on whether they have flash up or a dash. So there's no set in stone combo for Galio, but you just need to keep in mind, obviously in terms of damage, getting the auto off right after you get onto someone, and then using your abilities is the most effective, because the passive cooldown gets refunded every time you hit an ability on a champion, but that often leads to potentially not getting a taunt on someone, or them being able to walk out of your queue potentially while while they're taunted because you're autoing them. So I think for me, there's no real combo that I had to pick up when I played Galio. It just came down to playing so many games that I got a good feel for what to do in each situation. For me, Galio is a really fun champion because he's really different from anything else I've played. So I definitely recommend giving him a try, and I hope the guide helped you out. So thanks for watching.